Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
So Hare Krishna. So నా పేరు కరుణ రాధిక దేవిదాసి అండి. ఫర్ దోస్ ఆర్ న్యూ. సో నాకు యాక్చువల్లీ కథ చెప్పడానికి ఏమాత్రం అర్హత లేదు, కానీ సీనియర్ మాధురి స్కూల్లో చేశాను. సో యాక్చువల్లీ మేము ఈ మధ్య పండర్పూర్ వెళ్ళాము. పండర్ మాతాజీ రిక్వెస్ట్ చేశారు. సో పండర్పూర్ యాత్రకి వెళ్ళాము. మాతాజీ మేబీ యూ షుడ్ నాట్ రికార్డ్ మాతాజీ, ఐఎమ్ షూర్ 5 minutes. I'm not used to sitting here. So పండర్పూర్ యాత్రకి వెళ్ళాము మేము. I should talk with you. Yeah. So we recently went to పండర్పూర్ యాత్ర. So I had the great fortune of going with my Siksha Guru, who is this Yogesh Prabhuji, who actually lives in Detroit, USA. So he was here. So he took us for a 3-day trip to Pandharpur. So I went before also to Pandharpur, but nothing like going with your Guru. So amazing those 3 days were, and so much realizations and transformation we had. So I thought I'd share those pastimes with you, because they are still fresh. I just came back 10 days ago, so I will share some. So Pandharpur, how many went to Pandharpur? Yes, many. So many of you are familiar. So I mean the pastimes I'm telling are not anything new, but these are Krishna's pastimes, Vittala's pastimes. So any number of times we can hear. So they say Hari, the pastimes and leelas of Lord, any number of times you can hear, and they get sweeter and sweeter. So if you feel any sweetness, that's purely because he's Krishna we are talking about. And if I make any mistakes, which I'm sure I'll make, please forgive me. So there are many pastimes in Pandharpur actually. Such a holy land Pandharpur is, and those vibrations of Vitthal and Panduranga are so manifest there. Very spiritual abode that was. So many devotees have taken birth in this holy land of Pandharpur, so we can't cover everybody. So I just thought few of them only I can cover. So I think Pandharpur will be incomplete if we don't talk about Sant Tukaram. So many devotees. Tukaram is there. Then we'll try to talk about Janabai, Sakubai, then Kanupatra, Namdev, Chokamila. So many devotees, Purandradas. So many devotees have taken birth in this land of Pandharpur. So in Pandharpur they call Krishna as Vitthal. You are all familiar. Vitthal or Vithoba, and also Panduranga. So these are all we know that Krishna has many names. Innumerable number of names Krishna has. Some are primary names, some are secondary names, and then how Maharashtrians relate to Krishna is they call him Vitthal or Vithoba. So why did Krishna get this name? As a small pastime, and I think without talking about that is also not making justice. So anybody's heard of Pundalik Maharaj? So Pundalik was born to parents name I'm forgetting. Janu Deva and Satyavati. So he was born to these parents didn't have children for a long time, and they prayed. They were great devotees of Vitthal, and they prayed for a long time, and then they get one child and they named him Pundalik or Pundarik Maharaj or Pundalik they say. So this child, although however he was born to devotees, his childhood and adolescence was not, he wasn't with great values. So he actually troubled everybody that he was. So he didn't have any values. He was troublesome. He was into bad habits. He made bad friends and everything, and he would not respect his parents also. So this was the youth and adolescence of Pundalik, unfortunately. And then the parents think, maybe sometimes this is common, right? If ladka sahi nahi to shaadi kar do uska. So that's what they did. So they got him married. So after marriage also, unfortunately, instead of him improving, both of them were bad to their parents. So Pundalik didn't improve his behavior towards his parents, and then in fact he had company of his wife who was also ill-treating the in-laws. So the in-laws really, the parents of Pundalik really got fed up, And then they said, we can't bear this anymore, torture. So he was making them work and he was not giving them any respect. He was not taking care of them well at all. So they decided they want to go to Kashi. So they get ready to go to Kashi, and somehow, Kundalik says, we will also come. So both, actually the daughter-in-law wanted to go also. So she said, we'll also come with you. So, they could not refuse or he wouldn't listen. So all four of them started for this yatra. And those days yatras are very long. You walk several miles. So Pundalik and his wife used to sit on a horse and then let their parents walk. So that's how his behavior was. So this happened, and everybody around would see this bad behavior, but they couldn't say anything to him because he wouldn't listen basically. So one day they stop at an ashram. So that ashram belongs to Kukut Muni. So these yatras need to be broken down. So for some rest they stay there for 2 days. So in this ashram, what happens is Kundalik is sleeping in the middle of the night, and he notices that three women, very effulgent faces, very bright and powerful looking faces came in, but their clothes were all very dirty, all lashed they were. So they went inside the ashram, and then they did a lot of seva to the Muni and his family. So they cleaned up, they cooked and everything, and when they came out, they were those black dresses were gone and they were in effulgent size. So Kundalik doesn't understand how come they went dressed so in such bad outfit, and then they came up so glowing. So next night again the same thing happens. So same thing, he's sleeping and then he still finds again these three ladies come in and then they come out glowing. So he stops one of them and asks, what is happening? Who are you? Why are you in this ashram? What is happening? And then they say that they are actually rivers, Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. So they say because people take dip in us, right? For us, taking dip in holy river means getting rid of our papas or getting rid of our sins. So many people are dipping in our waters and their sins are coming on us. So that's why we are black like this. Then he says, how come then you went inside and then how come all that blackness went away? So what the rivers, the holy river said is that inside we are serving the Muni. So we are serving the Kukut Muni, and so all seva, all menial sevas they do. They wash, they wipe the floor, everything. So what they say is, so anytime we render service to sadhus and sons, then we become purified. So this goes to say that the power of seva. So Vaishnava seva. Even Krishna says, even Krishna loves serving his devotees more than serving himself. So this principle, we have to keep in mind that Vaishnava seva has great importance in progress of bhakti. So if you're serving anybody, your bhakti will really advance, very fast. So Krishna says that it's this in Bhagavatam. There's a verse I'm not remembering. So then Pundalik thinks his parents are also Vaishnavas, right? So they've been very devoted to Lord Vittala. So then it occurs to him that he's been mistreating Vaishnavas, he's been mistreating their parents. So that this conversation with the Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati transforms him. So he then realizes that he's been committing sins so many years in treating his parents. So he completely transforms, and from then on, then he talked to his wife also, and from then on they will be taking very good care of his parents. In fact, he's become so devoted to his parents. He becomes such a good son. He does such good seva. So when he is one day, then I think after yatra they'll come back, and then this pastime happens in Dwaraka. So the Lord is inside everybody's heart, right? What form is the Lord in our hearts? As Paramatma. So Lord is watching everything. He knows every thought process that comes to us, everything we say, we don't say, we think, we feel, we desire. So the Lord knows everything. So he knows that Pundalik has transformed and is doing such great seva to his parents and to Vaishnavas. So he gets very pleased and he comes one day. He actually physically comes. And then he calls Pundalik, hey Pundalik, Pundalik. And then Pundalik is at that time serving his parents, he is massaging their feet. So he comes at the doorway and he says, Ruko, I don't have time, I have to serve my parents. So can you imagine, Lord Krishna is coming to your door and you're saying this. So it just shows, how devoted he was to his parents. So then Vittala says, Krishna says, my feet are burning because he's outside the door. So he, without even so much looking, there's a brick near Pundalik, so he throws the brick towards Krishna and says, okay, you stand there, let me finish my seva, I'll come. So actually Krishna stands on the brick. And then we have Vittala and Rukmani here in the blue saris. So he stands like this on the brick. Okay, so waiting for Pundalik. So Vittu is in Maharashtra, I think Vishnu is called Vittu, if I'm right. So that's why they call Vittu for Vishnu. So Vittal is someone standing.
The brick.
Vittu means brick also, and Vittu means Vishnu also is high. So because he's standing on the brick, he's called Vittal, and also Vitova, because again Vit is brick. So that's how this. So famous, this Vittal posture and standing in a brick. So even if you go to Pandharpur and go to the Rukmini Vittal temple, you see this deity. So that is the power of Vaishnava Seva. Actually, if you want to take a message from this pastime, so Krishna is so pleased with Pundalik. Why? The only Pundalik is not doing any direct worship of Lord Krishna or any seva. So the only reason Krishna is pleased enough to come to his door is because he's rendering Vaishnava Seva. So Mama Bhaktya Pujadika, he says Krishna. So my devotees are worshipable. So my devotees are more worshipable than me. So there's one little story that I get reminded. My Shiksha Guru used to say. So suppose we're all sitting like this. We're all sitting and Lord Krishna comes and he's asking for a glass of water. So what will you all do? Honest answers. Krishna is standing there and he's asking for a glass of water. What will you all do?
We'll give the
glass of water to Krishna? You will give the glass of water to Krishna? You will give the glass of water to Krishna?
Yes.
Ask him to come in and give.
No, he is in Krishna's form only. How many will run to Krishna? How many will run with a glass? It's a tricky question.
ग्लास पानी का लिए थे कृष्णा को देख के भागता चला
क्या देख के भागते नहीं हाँ भागते no but Krishna was always
you wait I have something on my list and then I'll give
you are being very honest yeah what will anybody do tell me Krishna is standing there
We'll be in a shop. We'll be in a shop.
In a shop okay
Yeah, we'll be in a
she's going to ask her list okay anybody else
शॉप को के माँ कृष्ण जी से मिलेंगे जाके फिर वो पूछेंगे क्या
he's asking for a glass of water already he's asking come inside okay you'll make him sit but the point is everybody all of us wants to run with a glass of water but that should not be our mood so Vaishnava mood should be you should take a glass of water give it to the Vaishnavi ahead of you that Vaishnavi should give it that
We are not so selfless, Mataji. We are so selfish.
we have to be so that is what Krishna will like so Krishna will not like if you come running with a glass of water okay so you have to let the other Vaishnavis serve him so you are serving this devotee so the mood of Vaishnava the mood of especially Gaudiya Vaishnava is what dasa 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 so we have to remember this because telling myself also it's always for us Krishna 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 and that mood we have to switch so it has to be Vaishnava Seva because that's what Krishna likes and this is one nice pastime that demonstrates that okay so this is how Vittal got his name then we'll talk about Tukaram so many saints have taken birth in Pandharpur and Tukaram is the greatest saint I think everybody heard about Tukaram at least right so and in Maharashtra very popular saint and there won't be anybody that doesn't know Tukaram so Sant Tukaram was born in the 1608 actually in 1600s there was a big bhakti movement in Pandharpur in Maharashtra basically so there were a lot of sants who were born and bhakti was actually propagated so he was born in a place called Devi. So it is in Maharashtra. He was born in a place called Devi. And his father's name was Boloba and mother's name was Kanakai. Okay? So in Maharashtra, there are a lot of devotees of Vittal and Panduranga. And these devotees of Vittal and Panduranga are called Varkaris. what are they called? Varkaris. So every year, one of the Ekadashis, Ashada Shukla Ekadashi.
Everyone is understanding English.
Yeah, I already asked. Everybody's okay with English? My English, my speech? Yes?
Because you can speak in Telugu also, no? Maybe if they need both the languages.
Everybody's okay with, they said they're okay. Anybody has trouble with English? No? Okay. So, Mataji, you're okay with English? కొంచెం చెప్పాలా? సో 1600s లో ఒక భక్తి మూమెంట్ వచ్చింది మహారాష్ట్రలో. సో లాట్ ఆఫ్ సెయింట్స్ వర్ బార్న్. చాలా మంది సాధువులు పుట్టారు. అందులో తుకారాం గారు ఒకరు. సో వన్ ఇస్ తుకారాం. హిస్ పేరెంట్స్ వర్ బొలోబా అండ్ కానకాడ్. సో ఇన్ మహారాష్ట్ర ఈ భక్తులని విఠల్ భక్తులని వార్కారీస్ అంటారు. సో ఆషాఢ శుక్ల ఏకాదశి రోజు దే ఆల్ ఫ్రమ్ ఫార్ అవే, మెనీ మైల్స్, ఈవెన్ నౌ దే ట్రావెల్. Actually, they start, I heard, on the day when Tukaram actually disappears. We'll talk about how Tukaram left this world. So, our roj nundi, they walk miles and miles together and come to Pandharpur temple. So that is like a big, festival. They have so many, poetry, singing and all about Vitthal glorifying. I mean, Tukaram himself wrote some 45,000 abhangas. So they're called abhangas. The poetry that Tukaram wrote is called abhangas. So there are so many abhangas and they come. So they say that Tukaram is a great saint, and in his dream, see, we are from Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, so we should always try to connect how we can connect with this. So I heard one senior telling that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears in the dream of Tukaram and actually initiates him, and he tells him to continue the Sankirtan movement. So why is Pandharpur important and Tukaram important is because they continued the Sankirtan movement. So it's very popular for Kirtana. So eppudu Vitthal Kirtanle avutuntayi akkada. So yeah. So So adi anamata. So Tukaram actually kadi chala he's poor. He's very poor in a very bad family situation, but completely dedicated to the Lord. Ante when he gets food, one day he gets food, he's like, okay, Vitthal gave me food, I'll eat. And another day he has no food, he says, okay, Vitthal doesn't want me to eat, I won't eat. So completely, dedicated. Something comes his way, he'll eat. Otherwise, he's not, going to seek out for money or, food or anything. So very, very, very dedicated. So 24/7, Satatam Kirtanto. So he's always chanting the glories of Vitthal. Wherever he is. So, but very poor. So he has a wife and one son, and because of actually starvation. So our time though, there was famine, there was difficult situation. So karu vachina not our time though. So danto valla wife and son chanipotaru actually. So alaga parents kuda chanipotaru. So Tukaram goes through a lot of difficulties in his life. But despite all those difficulties, he's always, one thing is constant, is his dedication to the Lord. So then, what we should learn is also, and never once you see all these devotees, actually there are more, like, even if you see Sakubai's story, despite so many hardships, they never complain. So actually, kashtalu vachinappudu manam bhagavantudiki inka daggara avtam. So meeru Kunti Maharani prayers lo, like we read, Vipada Shantu. So whenever, what does Kunti Maharani ask? Give me more troubles. Give me more troubles. Why? Because I will remember Krishna. Because mana life lone chuskondi, if everything is well, mana chala happy ga unnamu, manaku dabbulu unnayi, family anta baagundi, anta unte mana bhagavantunu gurtu cheskuntava, chesko. Kashtalu vachinappudu matram manam parigetti veltavu. So Kunti Maharani ఏమంటుందంటే, నాకు ఎప్పుడు కష్టాలు భగవంతుడా, అలాగైనా నేను నిన్ను గుర్తు చేసుకుంటాను, ఎప్పుడు నా ఆలోచన నీ పాదపద్మాల వైపే ఉండాలి. ఎలాగైతే నదులు సముద్రంలో కలుస్తాయో పరిగెట్టుకుంటూ, సో హౌ రివర్స్ ఫ్లో టువర్డ్స్ ది ఓషన్. ఇప్పుడు ఎలా ఫ్లో అవుతాయి అంటే, ఒక రాయి అట్ట వచ్చినా కూడా దాని చుట్టూతా వెళ్ళి మళ్ళీ కలుస్తాయి ఓషన్లో, సముద్రంలో. సో వాళ్ళ ఆ రివర్ గోల్ ఏముంటుంది, కంప్లీట్ ఓషన్లోకి వెళ్ళటమే. ఎలాగైనా ఏ రూట్ తీసుకునైనా చెట్లు అడ్డ వచ్చినా, రాళ్ళు అడ్డ వచ్చినా వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. సో అలాగా కుంతి మహారాణి సేస్, నా కాన్షియస్నెస్ ఎప్పుడు నీ పాదపద్మాల మీదే ఉండాలి. సో ఎన్ని కష్టాలు వచ్చినా కూడా నేను నీ పాదపద్మాల నుంచి వేరు అవ్వద్దని ప్రే చేస్తుంది. సో దాట్ ఆల్సో షుడ్ బి అవర్ మూడ్. మన మూడ్ కూడా ఎలా ఉండాలంటే, కష్టం వచ్చింది అని భగవంతుడిని మనం we should not blame God for any difficulties. In fact, these devotees వాళ్ళు ఏమనుకుంటారంటే ఎప్పుడు they always think, good that I have difficulties because I'm able to remember the Lord. So it's a very high mood for us to imbibe, but we should. So again, we complain, for a lot of things. How many of us complain? Right? So whenever we are in the mood of complaining, just see the reason why we discuss these pastimes is, we will not become Tukaram or Sakubai, but at least learn from, get inspired from them. So whenever there is difficulty, number one, we should not blame God, because whatever difficulties we have is our karma. So it is not the Lord who is giving us difficulties. And then there's one nice verse in Bhagavatam also, Tatenu Kampam Sushrukshamano. So in that verse, what they're saying is, devotees who are rendering devotional service despite the difficulties. So number one, when we have difficulties, what we should think is that difficulty is because of my karma. Second, we should actually be grateful to the Lord, because you should think of difficulty as Lord's mercy. ఎందుకు మర్సీ అంటే నాకు ఇంకా ఎక్కువ కష్టాలు రావాల్సింది, నా కర్మ ప్రకారం ఐ షుడ్ బి పనిష్డ్ మోర్. సో కృష్ణ యాక్చువల్లీ డిక్రీస్డ్ మై పనిష్మెంట్ out of his mercy. So one, he's decreased my punishment, and second is he's giving me an opportunity to remember him. So that's why Lord is very merciful అనుకోవాలి కష్టాలు వచ్చినప్పుడు. And then a devotee who continues his devotional service in this mood, that that this is Lord's mercy coming towards me, Bhagavatam says that they are eligible to enter the Goloka. So గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. Just like what they say is, suppose a rich person is there, one rich millionaire is there, and he has one single son. So whether the son does anything or not, whether he works or not, whether he prays or not, when that father dies, the son will automatically get the property. So like that, if you render devotional service to God uninterrupted, despite all the difficulties, ahituki apratihata. So how should bhakti be? Uninterrupted, unmotivated. Unmotivated means no other motivation. నాకు డబ్బులు వస్తే భక్తి చేస్తాను, లేకపోతే నా పిల్లవాడికి కాలేజ్లో సీట్ వస్తే భక్తి చేస్తాను. సో ఈ ఏదైతే మనం గుడికి వెళ్ళి చేస్తున్నామో, కొబ్బరికాయ కొట్టడం, లేకపోతే పాస్ అయితే నేను తిరుపతికి వస్తాను, నా తల వెంట్రుకలు ఇస్తాము, ఇవన్నీ సమ్ మోటివ్ వీ హ్యావ్. సో ఇట్ ఇస్ నాట్ అహైతుకి. అహైతుకి అంటే హేతు. సో వీ షుడ్ నాట్ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ హేతు ఫర్ భక్తి. అంటే ఏ మోటివ్ ఉండకూడదు, ప్యూర్లీ ఫర్ కృష్ణ. సో ఆర్ ఓన్లీ మోటివ్ షుడ్ బి యాజ్ అ సర్వీస్ టు కృష్ణ, ఫర్ గివింగ్ ప్లెజర్ టు కృష్ణ. సో భాగవతం చెప్తుంది అహైతుకి అప్రతిహత. అప్రతిహత మీన్స్ అన్ఇంటరప్టెడ్. సో నీకు కష్టం వచ్చినా యూ కంటిన్యూ భక్తి, నీకు సుఖం వచ్చినా యూ కంటిన్యూ భక్తి. కష్టాల్లో కూడా థ్యాంక్ యూ కృష్ణ అని కంటిన్యూ చేయడం, సుఖం వచ్చినప్పుడు థ్యాంక్ యూ కృష్ణ అని కంటిన్యూ చేయడం. సో దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ భాగవతం ఇస్ టీచింగ్. సో ఇట్స్ హై, అందుకే భక్తి యోగం చాలా ఉన్నతమైంది. బట్ వీ షుడ్ డూ దిస్, అండ్ దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ డివోటీస్ మనకి చెప్తున్నారు, ఈ తుకారాం వీళ్ళు లాంటి వాళ్ళు. సో అందుకని మనం వీ షుడ్ గెట్ ఇన్స్పైర్డ్ బై దిస్. సో వీ వోంట్ బికమ్ దాట్. So no complaining. Whenever we have a problem, we should look at it as, this is minimized for me. I deserve much more. I deserve much more punishment, because from millions of lifetimes we have been sinning. So much so many sins we have committed. So ee roju ila manam kurchuni, we are in satsang, మన తినడానికి తిండి ఉంది, తాగడానికి ఉంది, నెత్తి మీద రూపు ఉంది, వేసుకోవడానికి బట్టలు ఉన్నాయంటే we should be very very grateful. So all these small complaints, వీళ్ళు ఇది అన్నారు, she said that, she said this, or I have a 2-bedroom apartment, he has a 4-bedroom apartment, all this we should leave behind. ఏది మనకేందో, ఏది భగవంతుడు ఇచ్చాడో దాంతో మనం తృప్తి చెందాలి. ఎందుకంటే భగవంతుడు చూస్తున్నాడు. సో what does Krishna do? He gives you what you need, not what we want. అంటే God fulfills your need, not greed. సో మనకి ఎంత ప్రాప్తం ఉందో మన పూర్వజన్మ సుకృతి ప్రకారం భగవంతుడు అంత ఇస్తారు. సో అగైన్ నో కంపారిజన్, నో కంప్లైనింగ్, నో CC, నో క్రిటిసిజం. 3 C's టు రిమెంబర్: నో కంప్లైనింగ్, నో క్రిటిసిజం, నో కంపారిజన్. కంపేర్ చేసుకోవడం, క్రిటిసైజ్ కూడా చేయకూడదు. మళ్ళీ ఒకరికి ఇది లేదని, నా దగ్గర ఉంది, మీ దగ్గర లేదని, అలాంటివి కూడా విషయం ఉంటుంది. సో దీస్ 3 C's we should remember. So coming back to Tukaram, so Tukaram's wife and son dies, and because of family pressure, he marries one more time, and the second wife's name is Jijabai, and they have 3 children. So the relationship of Jijabai is interesting. She really loves Tukaram, and she's very dedicated. So అంటే ఎలాగంటే if before Tukaram meets, she would never eat. So she's very ఏమంటారు పాతివ్రత అన్నమాట, chaste wife. She's very chaste wife, and she served him very nicely. But only problem was that she didn't like Krishna at all. She used to hate Krishna. So very interesting relationship they had. Why she didn't like Krishna? Because she knows Krishna is taking him away from her. So ఎందుకంటే ఎంత టైం దొరికినా Tukaram used to like disappear, and actually Tukaram's instructions were he gets instructions to write poetry, write abhangas. So he has those instructions from the Lord. So anytime he used to disappear onto a mountain actually. He used to go to a mountain and start writing his abhangas. So this lady used to search for him and actually go to the mountain, take food for him and go to the mountain. So very chaste wife. She never said ab jao to jao main kha leti hu, like I do it, my husband comes late, I eat. So not like that. So she was very chaste wife. So every day she used to go. So one day she was searching, and then she realizes that he goes to a mountain, and there were like 3 mountains in that area, in that Dehu area. So she doesn't know, where he's sitting. I mean, obviously she can't go up every mountain and search for him, and there were no mobile phones that day to track your husband like we do now. So she couldn't track her husband. So what did she do to understand where Tukaram is? I believe she goes to the bottom of the mountain, picks up one stone and hears. So whichever vibrates Vittala, 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 she knows that he's under that mountain. So potent Vittala, so potent Tukaram's prayers are so the whole every stone of that mountain that is singing vibrates with Vittala. I mean, I had goosebumps when I heard this. So that is the power of his devotion. So she used to identify him like that, and she used to go every day. And then one day she has the prasadam on her head, and she's going up the mountain. And then one big thorn pricks her feet. And then it's bleeding, and she can't go forward because she has no free hand to remove the thorn. So she's wondering, how should I go ahead? My husband is hungry. And then she looks here and there, and Vittal comes in his form. Vittal comes and says, let me remove your thorn. And he says, no, I don't like you, don't touch my feet. I'm not letting you come near me. You took my husband away. No, get away from me. So Vittal says, Naini, but you have to take the food to your husband. How can you do it? If you remove your hand, the food will fall. So he tries to convince her that he has to remove the thorn. And imagine, Vittal doing this. So that is Lord Krishna. So as much as we love Krishna, Krishna loves his devotees even more. So this is called Bhakta Vashyata. So actually, when you become a devotee of Krishna will surrender unto you. Vashyata means you can actually control. So the Lord, you can control the Lord. Just like we know from Damodar Leela how Yashoda controls Krishna, right? So Krishna is who? Krishna is Hanadi Govinda Ishvara Parama Krishna. So he's the owner of this whole creation. So idantha prapanchalu mullokalu create chesin Krishnudu. అలాంటి కృష్ణుడు అవుట్ ఆఫ్ భక్తి ఫర్ హిస్ డివోటీస్ హీ కమ్స్ అండర్ దే కంట్రోల్. సో అందుకని యశోద హ్యాస్ అ లిబర్టీ టు బీట్ హిమ్. షీ టేక్స్ అ స్టిక్ అండ్ రన్స్ ఆఫ్టర్ హిమ్. సో యూ కెన్ జస్ట్ ఇమాజిన్ హౌ లవింగ్ కృష్ణ ఇస్. అండ్ దెన్ హీ బికమ్స్ ద చారియటియర్ ఆఫ్ అర్జున. సో అంతటి మహానుభావుడు హీఈస్ డ్రైవింగ్ ద చారియట్ ఆఫ్ అర్జున. సో దట్ ఈస్ హిస్ లవ్. So devotees can control him actually. Once you become his devotee, వదలడు కృష్ణుడు మిమ్మల్ని. So he also becomes your servant. ఇప్పుడు కాలు పట్టుకుని ముళ్ళు తీస్తాడు. So he holds her leg and removes the thorn. So imagine, so that's his love. So then she goes up and gives the prasadam, and she says, why are you sitting on the top of mountain? You can come home and do this writing. So he says, no, it's peaceful here, I want to do my work here. Somehow she convinced, she says, you're not setting a good example as a Grijastha. You come home and write, and we won't disturb you and this and that. So she convinces him, and she comes back home and still continues writing. So Jijabai, so she keeps on, not liking Krishna, but then she loves Tukaram. So very difficult triangle that is. And he's completely dedicated to Vittala. So he doesn't, literally pay attention to his wife. So, but she nevertheless continues to serve him. So another beautiful pastime. So once what happens, Jijabai's friends come and they say there's one wedding. One of the friends is getting married, so you come. So they were very, very poor. If one meal comes today, tomorrow's meal they didn't know. So she had one sari only. So she used to wash that sari and then wear that wet one and then used to cook. So when you cook for that heat, it used to get dried up. So the same sari she used to wear. Wash it in the bathroom, wear it, cook, and then do the same thing. So she says she didn't want to go because she doesn't have a nice sari for the wedding, but because friends and relatives are forcing her, she says okay, I'll come. So she goes into the bathroom and puts the sari on the door, and then she's taking a bath. And then Tukaram is so merciful. Whatever he had also he'll give away. He is used to giving away all the wealth, everything. One day Jijabai asked to bring some corn for the child. So he brings so many corns and she's very happy, like, for once my husband is doing what I'm saying. And then last time he'll give all the corn to everybody, then he'll come home empty-handed. So that's what is Tukaram. So she tries the sari and then some lady comes and she says, I'm very poor, I don't have any saris, can you give me one sari? So jo bathroom ke door ke upar hai, that sari he gives her. So he donates. And this lady, Jijabai is completed her bathing and she looks for the sari. It is not, it is not there. Then she's wondering, what to do, how to come out. And then she turns again and then on the door she sees a beautiful silk, rich, heavy border sari on the door. So you understood where that sari came from? So that's what they say. So even if we are not personally devotees of Krishna, you should be close to a devotee. So Jijabai is getting more mercy than Tukaram, right? So that's why even if you can't do personal service to the Lord, be near a devotee, serve the devotee, then you'll get all this mercy. So she gets that beautiful sari and she understands. No, she said, मैं साड़ी वाड़ी नहीं लेने वाली हूँ आपसे. I'm not taking a sari from you. Go take it. She tells Krishna, I'm not taking a sari. Of all the people, I'll wear my own sari or I'll borrow from somewhere, but I won't take your sari. Then Krishna says, there's no other sari. Your ladies are waiting for the wedding. You better take it. So with very reluctantly, Dahishtanga తీసుకుని కట్టుకుంటుంది sari. Then her friends come and then the friends are like, నువ్వేమో బీదదాన్ని అని చెప్పి గొప్ప చీరలు కట్టుకుంటున్నావు ఏంటంటారు. So how can you have such beautiful sari? You always complain that you're poor. Then they say, where is the gift? And then she doesn't have any gift. So she says, I don't have any gift. Then they say, do you still want to come without the gift? So she hesitates to go. I think she ends up not going because she didn't have a gift to give at the wedding. Then the friends get disappointed and say, you're always like this, you never come for functions and all. So they go away. Then Tukaram, out of his writing, he raises his head and he sees his wife dressed in this beautiful sari. And he understands actually. Tukaram understands how Jijabai got this sari. And he says, give me the sari. And she's like, I don't have any other sari to wear. So he goes to a neighborhood and he asks for some rag like sari jo fekhte hai na, that one. So he borrows. Tukaram borrows that sari, gives it to his wife and says, you wear this and give me the sari. We can't take saris for Krishna. So she gives it. She's very chaste. So she listens to Tukaram. She gives that silk sari and he takes the silk sari to the temple, to Vittala. And he says, Vittala, you give me so much. This is Tukaram saying, they don't have food to eat. But he's so grateful to Krishna. He says, you're giving me so much. You're giving me food to eat. I have a shelter on my head. And I have, your glories to write. So I don't want anything. I don't want the sari. Okay, he'll put it on the altar and come. So that is Tukaram and that is Jijabai. So wonderful. And then, so Tukaram becomes very famous over time. So he writes all these beautiful, utte, sote, bette, only, glorification of the Lord. So he does that, and then some people around him, get very jealous. There's one person called Rameshwar Shastri. So he's also a Brahmin, and he also he gets very envious. When people are becoming popular, it's natural to become envious. So and then they don't like because he was born of I think a Shudra family. I don't know, Vaishya or Shudra family, Tukaram. So they say that you're not a Brahmin, so you can't write all these abhangas. So they say, then Tukaram says, where I didn't write any Abhangas, Krishna only wrote, Vittala only writes, Panduranga only writes, because that's his mood. So he always thinks, Panduranga is writing on his behalf. So then they object to it, and they say, they go to the head of the village or something, and they complain that, he's not writing, he's stealing from somebody, he can't write being a Shudra and all. So then there was an order to throw those in the river. So the river was called Indrayani river. So Vittala is asked to throw all his Abhangas. So he actually, what to do, he puts all his hard work, years of hard work, he ties them in a bundle, ties a big stone, and in front of everybody throws it in the river. But then, he's so distraught that, we can't, his glorification cannot reach people. So somehow he sits, he does it himself, but he sits on the Indrayani river bank for, I believe, 12-13 days without eating. So just meditating on Vittala that, this is what happened, but he doesn't complain at all, not once you'll hear Tukaram complaining about, what these people are doing. So then after 13 days, there are like couple versions. One version is that the river, Indrayani river comes out in the form of a lady and gives those Abhangas back to Tukaram. So they're all dry and gives back. And then there's another version where they say in front of many thousands of people, those Abhangas just floated on the river back. So in a dry state, those Abhangas floated. So then he gets those Abhangas back. Then there's another version that says that, people were so influenced by his Abhangas, were so motivated by his Abhangas that everybody read and everybody by-hearted. So everybody in the village, from what they by-hearted and remembered, they wrote all the Abhangas again. So he had some 45,000 Abhangas he wrote. So all the village people rewrote and gave it to him. So these are three versions, but regardless, the Abhangas came back. So this is again, his power of devotion. So those were not lost. And even today, we have Abhangas. I tried reading, but I can't read Marathi. So they're all beautiful glorification of the Lord. So if anybody knows Marathi, you can read. So this is him. And then, And then Tukaram is also just not, it's not about just writing. Again, service can be in different forms. There is no big or small service for Krishna. And when he's reciting his Abhangas in like a program like this, I believe in between when there is time, when others are reciting, he used to slowly, without telling anybody, go and arrange all the shoes of the devotees who come for his program. So very, very humble. Despite being so popular in Maharashtra and Devi area, he was very, very humble. Once also there's another, I think Sambhaji's name is, there's another Brahmin who also gets very envious of Tukaram, wants to defame him and all. And somehow they are neighbors. So there's a fence, and that fence gets broken by some animal or something. So he blames Tukaram for breaking the fence, and actually takes a stick and beats him up. So beats Tukaram up. So, and every day he used to come and sit in his Bhagavatam class. So Tukaram used to give Bhagavatam class every day, and he used to sit in the Bhagavatam class. Why? Not to hear, just to either make fun of him or find fault. So that was his agenda. So after beating him up, next day Tukaram is giving his Bhagavatam class, and he doesn't see him in the class. So he wondered what is happening, and then in the middle of the class he'll actually leave and go to that person's house, and because what that neighbor did is a Vaishnava Parad, right? Tukaram is a great Vaishnava. So, beating, leave alone beating, thinking negative about Vaishnava is also Vaishnava Parad. So that person gets some severe disease and he's on the bed, almost, close to death. So, Tukaram, without even, thinking that this is a person who beat me up, he goes there and serves him. So he massages his feet, he takes care of his health and all, and then he prays intensely to Vittala to not take this person away and to make him better. So Vittala hears his prayers, and that person gets back his health. So this is Tukaram. So if anybody will be in that place, we are not even able to forgive that person who is beating us up, right? So we curse them or we hold grudge in our hearts. So Tukaram is a very plain, simple devotee, and this and that's why the Lord sits in his heart. So that's why even for us, if we want the Lord to sit in our heart, we have to keep it very clean. So we have to clean our anarthas, this envy that we have towards other people, this anger, somebody beat you up, so that anger and all we hold in our heart. So all these are, especially, this grudge that we have. Sometimes, people do bad things. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's ideal. Yes, people do bad things to us, but we should forgive them. We should not hold any grudge because that person, it won't affect much. But if we hold grudges in our heart, it burns a hole in our heart. So it's like holding a fireball in our heart. So never, never get angry at anybody. Be in the forgiving mood, because if that person is doing something wrong, it is his karma. So Krishna is there to take care of that person's karma. So it's not up to us. So some, a few things we have to learn from here is that he is very, very, very forgiving. He doesn't have, in all of that Maharashtra, everybody regards him so much, and he has nothing like, I mean, he's a Mahan Baba, so he doesn't have any ill feelings towards anybody. So he serves that person also. So, and then actually sometimes they say people, if somebody is criticizing you, they are actually your well-wishers. Because what happens when somebody criticizes you, we will correct ourselves. So a real friend actually also should criticize you, not always glorify you falsely. And those who glorify you falsely are actually your enemies. So next time anybody criticizes you, you should think that he is your well-wisher. So then, so such many pastimes of Tukaram happened, and then Tukaram's death is very, very, I should not call death. He actually leaves the mortal world in his own body. So I think this is probably the only example in Kali Yuga that somebody leaves in his own body. So he knows the one day before only he gets a dream that Lord comes and says that I'll send you a plane and you'll come back to my abode. So he knows that next day he has to leave. So he goes to all the villagers, and I believe extends that invitation is there. Do you want to come with me? Do you want to come with me? How many are ready to go if such an offer comes? Yeah. Bache, pati,
Yes.
bar, naukri,
Everything. We leave everything.
your kitchen, your plants, your cows, your bulls. Anybody wants to stay here?
Cell phones.
Cell phone, yes, big one. Cell phone, I think sarees is a weakness for everybody. You'll have to leave behind
Better sarees.
Probably. So he asks everybody, and then he asks his wife also. You want to come with me? And you know what does she say?
My cow is there.
She says, I'll take care of my cows. So that was her attachment. So he goes alone, and the Vaikuntha plane comes and takes him when people are looking. Sometimes you hear that people disappear into the deities, or leave the planet without somebody knowing. But this happened in front of common people. He climbs onto the Vaikuntha plane and he leaves this mortal world. Hari Bol. And even today, I think there's a big tree where he left on the plane, where that plane landed. And I believe on that day, that Ekadashi day that he left, the tree vibrates very much, and one branch falls, I believe, every year on the same day that Tukaram left. And that is the day when Varkaris start walking towards Pandharpur. So Tukaram Maharaj ki Jai! So we have a little bit more time, one more pastime I want to share.
Very good.
So sweet pastime. So let me, there's Sakkubai and Janabai. How many want Sakkubai? How many want Janabai? Okay. Yeah, short, yes. So Janabai is another great saint. So she was born to parents who are, again, everybody is a devotee in Pandharpur. You can say everybody is Vittala's devotees. So she grows up in this house, and once this Varkari time comes, Ekadashi time, his parents want to go to Pandharpur. So they tell her to stay with the grandmother, and she's also, great devotee by birth. So she is asked to stay at home, and she says, no, I want to see Vittala. So she insists that she goes with the parents, and the parents say, it's a lot of walking, many miles you have to walk and everything, but she insists, and she goes to this to Pandharpur to see Vittala. And then she is like, she sees the deity of Vittala, and she says, is this Panduranga, जो हमारे घर में है, वही है क्या? And then the parents say, yeah. Why is he not talking to me? She says. So they are like, well, what do you mean? Yeah, Panduranga talks to me. This Vittala is not talking to me, she says. So then they explain that, it's the same Vittala is Panduranga, and then she says, no, I don't want to come. They're like, no, you have to come back home. You came for darshan and you come back home. She says, no, who's my mother, who's my father? No, Vittal is everything. Vittal is my everything. I am Vittal's and Vittal is mine. I don't want to come. So she literally makes her parents go away, and she stays in that temple. And then actually before talking about Janabai, a little bit about Namdev. So Namdev is again a great saint, a wonderful saint like Tukaram. He is born in the same area. And Namdev's glory is, we all remember Raghunandan's pastime where, so Namdev is also such an elevated devotee, such an elevated saint. Lot of details about him, but to be short. So Namdev actually, his parents don't have children and they pray for a child. So the Vittal comes in the dream and says that, you will find a child coming in the river. So just like, Karuna who floats in the water, Vittal comes in water. And the parents pick him up and they raise it. So he becomes a great devotee of the Lord as he grows up. And then once in childhood, his mother asks him to, offer bhoga to Krishna, to Vittal. So he offers bhoga to Vittal and then he's standing. He's like, eat Vittal, eat. And then, the prasadam is still there in the plate. So he says, just similar pastime we have in Vrindavan also about Raghunath yeah. So then he says, I ate the prasadam. I usually, Haribol. So I ate the prasadam, he says, and he says, no, where did you eat? It's still in the plate. So Vittal says, no, I eat I can, look at the prasadam and eat, and I refill the plate. And he says, yes, a philosophy nahi chalta, aap jaldi khao, meko khali plate do. So he says, I want the empty plate. So Vittal has to oblige his devotee. So he eats and gives the empty plate. Then he takes the empty plate to the mother, and mother says, where is the prasadam? And he says, Vittal ate. And then ye kuch bacha, jhoot bol raha aisa karke, then they refill another plate, and then they send, and same thing happens. So every day this is happening, and then next day the father comes to see, whether this child is lying or not, and then he actually sees Vittal eating. So then he's also grateful to his son that because of his son's devotion, he's able to get darshan of Vittal. So this is Namdev, just one pastime, many pastimes, but a great saint, again completely dedicated to the Lord, he's like Tukaram. So this Janabai, when she's in the temple, this Namdev, he comes and he says, he asks what happened, where are your parents and all, and she says, कि ना मुझे विट्ठल का सेवा करना है, विट्ठल के पास रहना है. So he takes her home. So Namdev has a wife, mother, father, and he takes Janabai home. And the mother says, ये किसको उठा के लाया, ये धर्म सत्य नहीं है, why did you bring her and all, and Janabai impresses that lady. She says, I'll do everything for you. I will work, I'll take everything. Ekdam se jhadu leke, she starts, cleaning the house. So that lady is also impressed, for work at least, she lets Janabai stay. So Janabai completely takes care of that household. So everything, subah se leke raat tak, she used to work. She washes clothes, she washes dishes, she cooks for everybody, and she served Namdev, like anything. So again, this is another great lady who has served a Vaishnava. And that's why, Krishna again gets pleased, just like, our Pundarik story. So, and she's also completely, all the work she does without any complaints. I mean, she used to, those days they used to grind the grains. So there's no, so every day she used to grind. And then the days she's tired, Krishna himself used to come and grind with her. So you see this if you go in the internet, he used to grind with her. And her, a very personal relationship they had. And some days if he didn't come, he's like, "Kyun nahi aaye? Who will grind? You thought, why didn't you come?" ऐसे बात करती थी वो विट्ठल से. So he grinded for her, and then she used to make pidakalu, cow dung cakes. So he used to help with her. Even Krishna, Vittal, I mean, this is in physical. See, Krishna, if he wants, he can just do this and make the rice flour, or he can do this and make but he wanted this personal relationship with this devotee, so he actually is doing all this, physically making cow dung cakes. He's like, he says, I don't want to get my hands in the cow dung. He says, no, nothing doing, do. So she makes him do cow dung cakes. So he does all the, the menial service that Janabai is doing. He was doing everything, like even, used to take the kachara out. And Janabai used to sweep and take the kachra, used to go and throw it out. He used to go to the field with her, and then she used to treat him like a cow, chalo, chalo, chalo karke. So that was the intimate relationship that Janabai had with Krishna. So literally every night he used to come and help her grind. And people used to wonder, ye ladki hai kya hai, aise kgs of grinding she's doing. And then they used to give her more, and she never complained. And in all of this physical hardship also, she never complained once. She never said, why are you giving me so much? Right? And because 24/7, she is also singing Vittala, Vittala, Panduranga, Vittala, Vittala, Panduranga, and then doing her household work happily. So, but she didn't do grudgingly. She did her work very happily because she took it as a seva for Namdev. So, completely again dedicated to Namdev she was, Namdev and his family. So, that was her primary duty. क्या करना है कि इनको सेवा करना है. So, that was her only motive behind doing all this, and very happily she was doing. So once Vittal comes, and then he's very sleepy. So he says, I want to sleep. And Janabai is like, how can you sleep here in my small kutir? How can you sleep here? You go to the temple and sleep. So he says, no, let me take a nap. And then he removes his jewelry because he's sleeping. He puts it on the side. And then he sleeps. And then Janabai covers him with her tattered blanket, one very old blanket she covers. And then morning, the Aarti time happens, the conch shell is blowing, and then Vittal has to go back to the temple. So in a rush, he forgets his jewelry, takes her blanket and runs. And then when the doors are open, Vittal is in one old shabby blanket, and there are no ornaments. So the priests get very bewildered, and they recognize that that blanket is Janabai's. So they go and then chastise her. They say, you're a thief. You came to steal the ornaments and you left your blanket. So the ornaments, they find the ornaments in the house, and Janabai didn't know, she didn't even notice that Vittal left the ornaments. So she is taken. Actually, they put her in a prison, and they put her and they beat her up and they treat. And even through that, only thing she wonders, hey Panduranga, hey Vittala, you know the truth, and she won't even justify. She says, you know the truth. You know that I didn't. She says, why will I steal Vittal's jewelry? Vittal is mine. So Vittal is mine and I am Vittal. So where is the need for me to steal the jewelry? So despite all her saying, they don't. Before this, one day she makes these cow dung cakes and she drives. So the neighboring lady also will make cow dung cakes. So then one sant comes from very far. What's his name? I'm forgetting his name. One sant comes from very far. By then Janabai's popularity also spreads. Actually, she also also always glorifying the Lord. So Krishna says, you should write it. You should write my glorifications of just singing. And Janabai says, mujhe likhna nahi aata hai, I'm just happy singing. If you want, you write, she says. So actually Janabai sings and Krishna sits and writes. He writes his own Abhangas for Janabai. He makes a book out of that. So then she is, this son, so her glory is spreading slowly, and one saint comes from a neighboring village to see Janabai. And at that time what happens, so that saint is talking to Namdev, and this lady comes from outside, and then she sees that the neighbor is taking all her pidakal, cow dung cakes. So she gets very upset, and she starts fighting. She's like, these are my cakes, why are you taking? And that lady says, how do you know they're yours? I made those and I made those. And literally, two women, we can imagine, two Maharashtrian women fighting with each other. So she's fighting. And then this saint comes from outside to see her, and he sees her, and externally, she's fighting. But for what? For cow dung cakes. So she says, is this the same, lady that I came from? Is this the saint that, people are talking about? So Namdev is very quiet because Namdev knows what Janabai is. So he says, okay, just go and, talk to her. And then he says, how do you know, these are your pidakalu? So she says, you put the cow dung cakes to your ear, and any Vittala comes out of that, then that is mine. So that saint actually hears. So a couple of them he hears, no Vittala comes, so those are that other ladies. And then there are some cow dung cakes that are saying Vittala. So then they recognize, then the saint recognizes, how devoted she is. So I mean, such devotion that, even inanimate objects are saying Harinam. So that's her. And there's actually another pastime, one devotee called Choka Mela is there in Maharashtra again. For him, actually, he dies because some construction falls and many people die. And then, so everybody is buried under the sand, and then they wanted to build a samadhi for him. So people, the devotees say, how can I recognize what is his body and what is his, remnants of his body? So Krishna, Vitthal says, Hare Krishna. So Vitthal says that you go to the bones and you pick them up and you hear any bone that says Vittala Vittala Panduranga, Vittala Vittala Panduranga is Chokamela. So they say that. So they find that the bones are reverberating with Vittala. So this happened 2-3 times. So that is the power of devotees. So cow dung cakes are saying Vittala Vittala Panduranga because she says I'm always chanting. When I'm doing cow dung cakes, I'm always chanting. While doing anything, she's always chanting. So that is the power of Janabai. So now those priests take her to the prison and then they are actually getting ready to hang her because she stole the Lord's jewelry. So she just prays to him like I don't know why you're doing this with me, but if you want, this is what should happen with me, then I'm okay. So she goes nicely and then she puts that rope around her neck, and then again there are two versions. One and she's as usual saying Vittala Vittala Panduranga, Vittala Vittala Panduranga, and then that rope becomes a garland around her neck is one version, and then another version is that every time she says Vittala, little bit of the rope melts. So for her kirtan, all the rope melts, and then people will recognize that Janabai is a great saint and they leave her. So this is the story of Janabai. So Haribol, Janabai, Sant Janabai ki Jai. And one last, Sakkubai, another great story of Sakkubai. Sakkubai is married to one person, and she lives with her husband, her in-laws. And as nice as she is, and she is also completely devoted to the Lord. From her youth, she is a devotee of Vittala, and anything she does is devoted to Vittala only. But this family that she marries into is extremely mean people. So her mother-in-law is like unless daughter-in-law ko gali nahi de to she cannot digest her food. She is like that. So completely ill-treated. So she is made to work the whole day, cook for everybody, clean for everybody, everything, do all the household work, and bacha kuch khana hai to, some remnants that are left over, they used to give her to eat. Same thing with clothes, she never had any new clothes. Jo bhi phata purana hai, she used to get. And her husband was also not supportive. I believe the husband is worse than the in-laws. Imagine that situation. So we should all be glad. Yes. So whenever you want to complain about your in-laws, you read about Sakkubai's in-laws. so she was completely ill-treated. So she doesn't complain. Again, Sakkubai is not one word. Even inside, she doesn't say Vittal, mere saath aisa kyun hua, because she understands that this is her karma. So she's understanding this is her karma she has to burn, and she's completely working day and night. Actually, she becomes very weak and very ill. She becomes also. And then her only desire would be, to take darshan of Vittal, because they wouldn't let her go outside. She was not allowed to meet her friends, nothing. So then this worker is going, that Ekadashi comes, and somehow she very badly wants to go and visit Vittal. So she somehow dares, to go with a group of ladies without telling her mother-in-law. So she goes a little bit ahead, and then somehow her mother-in-law realizes that the daughter-in-law is not home, and she comes and grabs her by her hair, beats her up in public, and then comes and ties her up in the house to a pole. And then all three of them beat her up nicely for trying to go without their permission. So she simply cries and she says, "Hey Vittala, I don't have the good fortune to see you. This is the only desire I had." And she laments a little bit, and then she's just tied to the rope. They don't even give her food. So what happens? She's intensely, praying, and she's completely dedicated to the Lord. So of course Vittal knows, he comes to the rescue of his great devotees. So he comes as a no, before that actually she is given, so many clothes to wash. So she goes to the river, that Chandrabhaga river. There's a Chandrabhaga river in Pandharpur. It's still there. So she goes there to clean, to wash the clothes, and then she has tons of work back at home. So she's wondering, how can I finish all this household work? And then one old lady comes to the Chandrabhaga river, and he says, "Sakkubai, you go home and do the rest of the work, and I'll wash the clothes for you." And Sakkubai says, why would somebody unknown, wash the clothes for me? And she's like, no, it's okay, I'm used to this, I'll do it. So he says, no, you're not well, you go home, I'll do it. And you come back and take the washed clothes. And then after she goes back home and she does the bunch of work, and then she comes back to Chandrabhaga river, and that old lady by then has washed all the clothes nicely, neatly. and then is giving it back to her. And she gives a nice smile while going. And she says, "Who are you?" and all, and she doesn't answer. She's like, whenever you need me, I'll be there. That's all she says, and she goes. She like actually vanishes. So she thinks, how come this old lady, just like that vanished? You should see her walking slowly or something. And that smile, that brilliant smile that she gets from that old lady, she was not able to understand. Then after she comes home, and then she talks to somebody, and I think one of her devotee friends or something, and she says, who do you think that is? And then he says, who else will it be? Somebody, such old lady washing so many clothes for you and giving you that smile and saying that she'll come anytime you want. So that is Vittal. So then she is like, oh my God, Vittal came and I didn't recognize him. So she feels bad, but then she knows that Vittal is watching her. So now that she's tied to the pole, Vittal comes again in the form of a lady. He doesn't come as Vittal actually this time. For Janava, he comes as Vittal only. Here he comes as another lady. And he says, you want to go so badly for the Varkari festival, you go, I will take care of your household. And she says, no, I cannot leave and all. But he convinces her and releases her ropes and sends her. And then he gets tied in the place of, so he takes the form, Vittal takes the form of Sakubai and ties himself to the rope in the house. So he's there, and the in-laws are, for some days they still ill-treat him and keep him tied. But then something, the husband feels a little bit of pity. Pity not because she's suffering. Pity because if she dies, nobody will serve him. So he will come and feed her one day, and then he will release her, and then she will start doing all the household chores again and cooking for them. So this is who actually Vittal. So Vittal is cooking for the in-laws and the husband, and because Vittal is cooking and gave them prasadam, they actually transform a little bit. So slowly they start becoming nicer and treating Sakubai, so-called Sakubai, who's Vittal, treating her well. And then meanwhile, Sakubai goes with the Varkaris to Pandharpur, and then she gets the darshan of the Lord. She holds his feet, and then she is so ecstatic that she's finally saw her Lord. And actually she leaves her body in that place in Pandharpur. And then some people see her, they recognize her, and they actually cremate her. So her body is cremated. And then here Vittal is waiting for Sakubai. Sakubai says she'll come in 10-12 days, and then she can go. And then here Vittal is waiting and Sakubai doesn't come. So then he's continuing to serve them. And then somebody comes from that village, Pandharpur, and says to these in-laws that your daughter-in-law came to Pandharpur, and he's like, kya baat kar rahe ho? My daughter-in-law is here only, she's nicely serving us. So no, we saw her and she actually left her body, and these are the remains of the body karke they will give. And then they understand that so who was here is Vittal, and that's why that transformation, they could see some change when Sakubai leaves and Vittal comes their home. They started seeing some change. And then who prays? I think somebody prays intensely to Rukmini to give back Sakubai's body. So then Rukmini, out of her mercy, she actually, a dead body that was cremated, she makes Sakubai come back to life again. And then that Sakubai is sent to her house, and then Vittal lives. So then, from then, of course, the family is all transformed. So from then, they start taking care of her very nicely. So this is Sakubai. So a little bit of I finished the pastime. See, since because we are following the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So see, these stories are inspiring. We should take the inspiration as to be devoted to the Lord, to not complain in terms of difficulty, to always keep our focus on the lotus feet of the Lord. So all these virtues that we are learning, we should take from these pastimes, but also know a little bit about connection of how we are connected to Pandharpur. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually in his life, he travelled 6 years, and he, I believe, never stayed anywhere stationary, but in Pandharpur he spent 11 days. So 11 days he was in Pandharpur. That's probably the longest time he was in Pandharpur. And he actually, his brother, he comes in search of his brother, and he meets some saints in Pandharpur, and they say that his brother actually leaves his body in Pandharpur also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's brother. So that is the connection, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also stayed there and rendered Srimad Bhagavatam to the saints there. So that is probably the longest time that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed in one place. So that is one connection for us. And then Nityananda Mahaprabhu also, who was born in Ekachakra, and we know right from going to Ekachakra in Mayapur and all. So Nityananda Mahaprabhu was asked by a sadhu to take him away from his parents in Ekachakra. So with great difficulty the parents separate from him, and actually the parents also die. And Nityananda Mahaprabhu also comes to Pandharpur. And then Lakshmipati Tirtha is another great saint actually. He and Madhavendra Puri, they say are connections between Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is ours, what we are following, and Brahma Madhava Sampradaya. So they are the connecting links. And Lakshmi Tirtha, in his dream, Balram comes. Balram comes and says, tomorrow one young effulgent person will come, and you make him your disciple and you initiate him. So next day, as Balram says in the dream, Nityananda Mahaprabhu comes. So again, Nityananda Mahaprabhu is dressed all in blue, very effulgent, very youthful looking person comes, and this Lakshmi Pati Tirtha recognizes him and he gives him initiation. So Nityananda Mahaprabhu also gets initiated in Pandharpur. And then after that, he realizes that Lord Balaram is only Nityananda Mahaprabhu. So that is another connection with Pandharpur. And I think most connection with us is how Sankirtan. So Pandharpur is also very famous for Sankirtan movement. So all these abhangas are about Sankirtan. So always taking the name of the Lord, although it's Vittala and Panduranga, but is a very famous for Sankirtan movement. So because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has asked for Sankirtan movement, and is supposed to have initiated Tukaram also. So it's a great place for Sankirtan, Pandharpur. So for us as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, however, we have a process in place. We have the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. We have the 4 regulated principles. We have ISKCON Guru as Srila Prabhupada, who gave us a process. So we should follow along these lines. What I'm trying to say is we should not mix other philosophies in our philosophy. We should take inspiration from these stories and still continue that single focus that we have. Follow our acharyas and follow their parampara. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any mistakes if I make, please forgive me. And if it is inspired a little bit, then it's all Krishna's mercy and my Guru Maharaj's mercy. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Karuna Radhika Mataji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.